Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Grumman YouTube channel. And what we're going to talk about today is your boarding step peg. You have them on the Travelers, the Cheetahs, and the Tigers. Only the 4-place. There are none on the 2-place. And this video install is done by Dusty out in California. And believe it or not, he has actually done quite a bit of training under Ken Blackman back in the day, having stayed at Ken and learned. What a great voice he has. Please enjoy this video. Thank you.
The mysterious boarding step installation. This may be a good time to find a small friend. When I bought my Cheetah, the previous owner had taken out the step. Years later, I reinstalled it. Then one day, after 40 years of use, I could feel it giving way. A year went by before I brought it to the welder, but I didn't reinstall it to see how bent it was. This isn't supposed to be trial and error. Either bring it to him perfectly ready to weld, or bring him to the plane and let him grind it off to the point where he can bend it into position. So here's what's in there. If you want to remove it, bring some pliers. The bolts are coming out of a lot of hardware and they'll be stubborn. So mark the top and bottom and save your hardware. Install time. Get your hardware ready. I've taped the doublers onto the step strut. For the inside, I've taped the doublers together to line them up, and I've RTV'd the spacers into place to make the install easier with fewer loose parts to fumble with. Then I lubed everything so the bolts slide through the spacers, the doublers, and into the nut plate more easily. Make sure you have the steel magnetic bolt on the bottom and the aluminum shear bolt on top. Mark them with a T and B accordingly. The tools you'll need are a 1/2-inch socket, a 12-inch extension, and a Phillips screwdriver. Maybe a drill with an adapter to quicken the install of the bolts. You've got 3 doublers, 2 surfaces, and a nut plate to negotiate. Take a measure of the step from the opposite side of the plane, from the ground to the bottom of the strut. This will help you to get the new strut lined up when you install the top bolt. Remove the external fairing. Put the flaps fully down. In my Cheetah, there's more room to squat behind the passenger seat, so hopefully you're working on your pilot side step. Pull the rear seat backs. Fold the seat bottoms up and over, unsnap the protective cover, lay out your tools. Step in carefully, don't step on your cables, and insert the doublers into position and the spacers into the holes. You may have to move some plumbing aside as you position the doubler hardware in advance of inserting the bolts. Then place the bottom bolt 1/3 of the way in, and then the top bolt, an inch or so. Put some tape on to hold everything in place. So your friend is on the ground positioning the strut. Give him a flashlight, make sure there's good lighting. He can see the bottom bolt when you insert it 1/3 of the way in, but you can't see the strut. So have him put the hole against the bolt, and you push it into the hole and screw it in. Finish it with a power tool if you want to. Get it snug, but you'll still need to pivot the step in order to find the hole for the top nut plate. Have him measure the distance now to get it into the neighborhood. This is a good time to ask your friend if the welder got it right, and if so, continue with the top bolt. You can find the top hole with a screwdriver as your friend pivots the strut, but it's likely right there if you use the measurement. Firmly tighten both bolts, and then remove the tape holding the hardware. Get your tools out, make sure everything's clear before you button everything back up. And then you can triumphantly take your first step onto your newly returned boarding step, and then wonder how you lived without it. Then step to the front or the back of the plane, praying that your welder got it right this time. Replace the fairing. Total job time is about 30 minutes. Inside the hole, 3 to 5 minutes, depending on if you have your act together before you get in there. Happy boarding!